Hello everybody, this is Aaron from Sibling Rivalry, and today I'm going to be showing you how to load firmware onto your 9 keypad. This is the same keypad we've been building over the last 4 or 5 videos now, and yeah, if you've been following along, you should be ready to get started with your firmware.
That can make copies of almost anything.
Alright, welcome back from the intro. As you can see, I've got my screen up here. Hopefully you can follow along with what I'm doing here. So, if you've been following along at home and building this keypad, you should have everything at the same state that I have here. So everything should be assembled, should look very similar, if not identical, to what I've got here. So everything should be soldered together and installed. Before you go and plug this into a computer, and no worries if you've already plugged something into a computer, you can actually go back and fix it if need be. But before we get ahead of ourselves, you're going to want to go to config.qmk.fm and then click this link here that says Get QMK ToolBox. Now from here, it's actually going to open up this GitHub page. As you can see, I had it already loaded. And you're going to want to click QMK ToolBox install.exe. So you get that, and then install it. And that will install this bit of software here, which is QMK ToolBox. And if you follow all the options in there, it should install everything with the drivers for your controller. And you can actually use QMK ToolBox right out of the gate if you want the default keymap, like what I have, well, like what I'll show you in a second. But we're doing custom, so I'm going to select the keyboard here that we're doing firmware for, which is the 40% Club 9. You can also type that in here, or just type in the 9 like so, and it'll bring it up. You can also type in 40% or 40, and it'll narrow down the list based on what characters you've typed in. So, as you can see here, it has a default layout. That's kind of a media layout with the arrows, so to kind of combine with maybe a 40% keyboard or something like that. So, I'm actually just going to go through and hover my cursor over the keys, represented by these little squares with the text on them. And you should see that little X appear, and you can just click that, and that's going to erase the default layout. Now I'm just doing this because I like to have a completely blank slate when I'm doing a custom layout. As you'll see in a sec, you don't necessarily have to do this, but I like to just to kind of make sure that I don't have any layers hidden that are going to cause weird issues with the keypad. So this is essentially just like a top-down view of the keypad. There's a few different ways you can load in the different key codes. You can go through manually here and select them on this like virtual keyboard, so you just click Q, W, and do that. I personally suggest doing it through that way if possible, but I also have this wireless keyboard here. This is just a Logitech K400 Plus. I just use it for all sorts of different stuff. But what you can see here is if I click the key and it's highlighted with the border, you just press a button on the keyboard and it registers that key press and loads it on there. So there's all sorts of different ways that you can load key maps here. But what I'm going to do, because I don't really need any more keyboard emulation, so to speak, I want to create something completely different. Excuse me. So what I'm going to do is actually make this emulate a mouse. So to do that, we go over here, select App, Media, and Mouse. And I want this to work similar to the arrow keys or the WASD keys. So I'm going to do mouse up for the upper middle key, then mouse left, mouse down, mouse right, and you could do this exactly, or you can do something else. You could also, you can drag and drop to move the different keys, which is a nice little feature that they've added. So in theory, if you wanted to, you could do this and then have like the scroll wheel click or a click button in there, but I'm just going to keep it like this to be simple. So what mouse is fit without, or what mouse works without switches or buttons? So mouse 1 is essentially your right click, or sorry, your left click, and then your right click is mouse 2. And what I'm going to do from here, I'm actually going to do mouse wheel up, and mouse wheel down. And we've got an extra key left over, so I'm going to play around with quantum, which quantum is kind of the whole thing of QMK. So QMK, if you're not familiar, stands for quantum mechanical keyboards. So quantum is all the special features like layers and all the cool, fun stuff that you can do. So I'm going to do momentary, which a momentary option here, like as you can see if you hover over it, it's a momentary turn layer on button. So it's similar to a function or like a shift, where it kind of opens up a new layer for a second on your keyboard. So if, as long as you're holding down this button, it'll open up whatever layer you have in this box. So I'm going to set that to layer 1, and that's going to see, you're going to see this open up here. And now you've got a blank layer. This is a pass-through because it's a momentary button. You've got a blank slate to work with here, minus this button, because if you're doing a momentary thing, as soon as you let go of that button, you're going to go back to the default layer, which is layer 0. So from here, let's add in some media functionality. So let's see what we got here. Multimedia. I like having mute. Volume. I'm going to do volume up and then volume down. From here, let's see what else we can do. We can open up the calculator. I'm actually going to go and do down on these ones, the sleep button and the wake button. So this isn't a common button set anymore. You used to see it on certain keyboards and certain laptops in particular. Essentially, you press the sleep button, your computer goes into sleep mode, so it hibernates. Not quite hibernating, actually. Hibernating is technically a different thing, but it'll close the monitor and kind of lock things up just momentarily. You press wake, and it'll wake up the computer. You might, depending on your settings, you might have to type in your password to get back into your computer. But yeah, this is handy for if you've got like a toddler who wants to press the buttons on your keyboard or something like that, and you don't want them accidentally deleting whatever you're working on. Or if you have a roommate who likes to mess with your stuff and they're not familiar with layers on keyboards, then it's awesome. Because these are all essentially hidden away. In theory, if you label the keycaps, they can only see what's on the first layer. You could hypothetically hide stuff on any other layer. Okay, so I'm also going to add a cut, copy, and paste. Actually, you know what? I'm going to remove the cut. I always like using copy anyways. And for this guy, I just noticed the find key. So that's going to be the equivalent of Control F. So that's, I always find that handy when you're going through like large data sheets or stuff like that, where you're looking for a particular bit of information. You just do Control F, type in what you're looking for, and if it's in there under the right name, it'll help you find it. So now that we have this layout done, which you could continue to kind of mess with this, add up to 15 layers like it shows here. Yeah, we've got that done. I'm going to click compile, but before I do that, I'm actually going to change this to Aaron Mouse. I'll put a space in there. There we go. And as you can see, there's the baking a potato. And if you haven't noticed, in the top there's a little bar up here with little different fun facts about potatoes. Some of them are fake, I think, I presume, or jokes. But yeah, there we go. So you can see here, firmware size is fine. It's about 56% of our firmware on the keypad. And we're going to download the firmware. It's going to ask if we want to leave the page. It's not actually going to leave the page. It's just going to open up a pop-up, as you can see here. So, 40% club 9 Aaron mouse.hex. Save. And check here. Yep, so that's done. It's saved. And now I'm going to go into QMK ToolBox. And from here, we can click Open. You can see a few different layouts that I've tried out here, as well as the default one that it downloads. And I'm going to click this guy, because that's what I just did here. And now it's loaded in here. You can actually download the default layout, and you can do this for all the different keyboards that are supported by default in QMK. If they've been kind of routed back to the main repository, they should be in here. Yeah, it's handy to be able to do this, because if you just want to get your keyboard working, like I know for my Levinson, I think I ended up doing this the first time because I just wanted to have the keyboard working and not have to fuss with stuff. So I just went in and downloaded Levinson. When you click the load, it downloads and it'll kind of load it into this section up here. But, yeah. We've got it loaded in here. You can see from a previous attempt that I've done here for loading the firmware. What I like to do, and it's not selected by default, is select Auto Flash. And what that does is, presuming you have your keyboard plugged in, which I just realized I dropped my USB cable. So if you don't have a micro USB cable, now's the time to plug one into your computer. Plug that into your Pro Micro or whatever controller you have. Essentially just plug in whatever USB-A to this connector, because I know there's the Elite C, which uses USB-C, and there's probably a few other alternatives. I know there's one that uses a mini USB instead of micro. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, so I've selected Auto Flash. We have the reset button on here, and I just press the reset button, and we should see in QMK ToolBox it's going to wipe the chip, and it's going to reinstall and install the hex file that I generated. So it's now done, and as you can see here, my mouse is working. I'm going to just go over and minimize this. Ooh, there we go. And let's do scroll up and scroll down. There you go. And let's do mute. Volume down, volume up. Maybe I'll switch those. And let's, yeah. I'm not going to put my computer to sleep while I'm recording because that's just asking for trouble. But yeah, let's see. Make sure that this does some text here. I'm just going to go over and do that. Copy, paste. Oh, I guess Firefox doesn't have the same keys that I was used to. But yeah, as you can see, it does work. And yeah, that's about it for this. Once you've got this firmware installed, you can go ahead and screw your case together. Like I said in the previous video, I'm just using M3 screws, like machine head screws, socket head cap screws to be exact. And I'm just threading them in and using that to hold everything together. Just threading directly into the plastic. I found the heat set inserts were a little fussy, the cheaper ones that I bought. They do work. I just wasn't able to get a reliable result for my own stuff. But that about covers it for this video. If you have any questions, please feel free to give us a comment down below, and we'll do everything we can to fix any problems you might have or help you out. If you like the video, really appreciate any thumbs up, any positive criticism, even just constructive criticism is always appreciated. And if you're not subscribed, think about subscribing. We'd really appreciate it. And if you are subscribed, try ringing that bell for notifications. That way you don't miss out on any of our future content. We do regular content uploads on Mondays and bonus content on Thursdays. And yeah, let me know down below if you use QMK, TMK, or custom firmware, or if you don't understand why you'd want a mechanical keyboard. Hope you have a great day, and bye for now.